Hello, good evening. The jailing of Alexei Navalny was perhaps the least surprising bit of news since Vladimir Putin denied he had anything to do with his rival's attempted assassination. What was surprising was the strength of words used by Navalny himself in court, calling Putin an underpant poisoner and a thieving little man in a bunker. Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab a little more circumspect, calling today's ruling perverse and accusing it of failing to meet the most basic commitments. Similar sentiment from the EU, deploring a disproportionate use of force. But tonight, one of President Biden's most senior Democrats has called on the UK to do more to freeze the assets coming into these shores from laundered money, telling Newsnight you cannot monetise human rights and democracy. So when do we find our own proportionate response to what the Russian state is doing? And is America about to get a whole lot tougher? We'll discuss that in the moment. We begin with the story of the day and Gabriel Gatehouse. And yet, many will recognise those names of Tony Blinken, John Kerry, Jake Sullivan, members of your administration now, that were also part of the administration during the Obama years when it is quite easy to argue America lacked muscularity with Russia. You were trampled all over. Today, we understand it's highly effective against the disease, 92%. In an age where it seems we trust very little, that is Russian, could I ask whether you would have problems taking it, whether you would be able to recommend this as a scientific delivery breakthrough for the countries that are buying it? Let me ask, do you think Brexit makes it easier for Britain to go its own way, or does it make it more keen to see finances stay within the country? How do you read it? Reporting. A Department for Education spokesperson told us the government knows the impact of being out of education can be greatest on vulnerable children, which is why special schools should continue to welcome these pupils to attend where possible. The department added it was focusing its catch-up efforts and remote education support on those who need it most. The death of Captain Tom Moore seemed, some reflected today, somehow greater than the death of one man. Certainly he'd lived an extraordinary life, made it to 100, broke world records, raised literal millions for the NHS. But he also, in this last year, came to embody something for a nation desperate for a hero. In a time of darkness, worry, pain and separation, we pinned our hope on Captain Tom. He carried the optimism of a spirit that somehow everything would end up all right, allowing people, perhaps, to believe it would. Tonight, as we examine the reaction to his death and look at what it says about our nation and its needs, joining us now is the broadcaster Joan Bakewell and the historian Margaret Macmillan. Very nice to have you both. And Joan, I wonder if I can start with you. Captain Tom raised huge amounts of charity, but he also seemed to serve another purpose. I don't know how you would best phrase it, what he sort of did for the country in a bigger sense last year. I think nostalgia matters more here than in other places. Do you think we have a particular proclivity to nostalgia, to looking back?
Oh, I think you're being too hard on yourselves. I think a lot of nations are nostalgic.
Boris Johnson said tonight, Margaret Macmillan, in the dark days of the Second World War, he fought for freedom. In the face of the country's deepest post-war crisis, he united us all. Do you think it's about what we needed to hear as much as anything?
I do.
To a few in a bit more detail. Captain Sir Tom Moore, of course, praised for uniting us all. And the main story is the Oxford jab does reduce the spread of coronavirus. Questions over whether it actually stopped transmission. They believe it has a very strong chance of doing that. The Daily Mail, the last salute for Captain Tom. The Oxford jab game changer, that same story there. And the Daily Telegraph, one Oxford jab cuts transmission. That's all from us. But before we go, the Elizabeth Prize for Engineering was awarded today to the pioneers of LED lighting, with judges recognising the technology for its ability to produce a lot of light from very minimal power. In one of the most innovative recent uses of LEDs, the Dutch artist and innovator Dan Roosgaard has been using the technology for art and to reduce the use of pesticides in farming. LEDs can actually help plants to grow. We thought we'd leave you with some images of the 20,000 square metre project. Good night.